Yes, I am a survivor. As you remember, I was shot, I was hung, I was left for dead. And guys, tune in so you can hear my amazing story. I am a miracle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Listen, we had some technical difficulty. I'm so glad that you guys are so awesome that you decided to come back with us. Well, tonight on the broadcast, in fact, this entire week, we are having domestic violence true stories right here. We want to dedicate this because we have survivors that are dedicated and very loyal to the Ella Johnson Show. So we want to make sure that their message is put out. Now, joining me tonight, I have Carla. Carla is going to be my beautiful co-host for the week. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Why wouldn't I? She's a domestic abuse survivor, and her story was one of the most watched shows on the Ella Johnson Show. And her title was Hostage for 9 hours. Imagine that. Maybe later in the week, Carla will refresh people and tell them what your story was. But we have Phyllis joining us also. Phyllis was going to also join the show tonight. We're waiting on Jada, but we're having some technical issues there. But she's here, and she's also a domestic violence survivor. And yes, she has a story as well as a nonprofit where she's helping other survivors. Because, there's nothing like going through something and then allowing that not to eat at you, but allow you to come back and help other people. Both of you ladies, welcome to the Ella Johnson Show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, I know we're getting a little late start, but that's okay. That's okay because, where there's a will, there's a way. And when you have women that really want to make something happen, do we not make it happen?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, what I was saying to everybody is, you're watching this broadcast. If you have ever felt and asked the question, God, why do I have to go through hell to get to heaven? And that's what it seems like sometimes. It seems like we're going through so much, ladies, that we feel like we're the only ones, that no one can understand what I'm going through. But both of you are survivors, so you've both been through something. So, Phyllis, we're going to just let you tell your story tonight on the Ella Johnson Show. We were going to bring you back anyway to tell your story, but I'm sure it's in you and you're always ready to talk about it. But I want you to just kind of tell people about Phyllis. Who is Phyllis?
Well, I am Phyllis Schilling. I'm from Waco, Texas, born and raised. Been married for 31 years. Have 2 beautiful children and 3 beautiful grandchildren. And I am a domestic violence survivor. I just wrote my first book in 2019. It came out in October of 2019, and it's called Looking Inside Myself and Surviving. And my tagline is Deliverance from Pain and Embracing Your Purpose.
I love that. I like that. I like that. So tell us, Phyllis, when you're take us back to the very first time. And Carla, you're my co-host, so you can jump in whenever. You might have to throw something at the screen to get me to stop talking, though. So you can be that kind of co-host. You're like, no, we're not going to be like Oprah and Gail, okay? They're too polite. For me, you might have to throw something at me, okay?
I got you.
But take us back to that first time, Phyllis, when you experienced your first hit or whatever the case may be.
I was a high school senior, and I had been dating this guy for like 4 years, the whole high school year. And he began to be abusive. But, back then you feel like it's the norm or you want to fit in. So you just kind of deal with it. Well, fast forward a little bit, I ended up marrying this gentleman after graduation. And that's when it really, really, really got bad. Really got bad.
And you can relate to that, right, Carla?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and I'm curious, was he was not violent until your senior year after 4 years of dating him, and it just kind of gradually, but I'm sure he was probably verbally.
Yes,
Yeah.
verbally. There was a lot of controlling, don't talk to this person. You couldn't have these friends. You couldn't do this. You do, and it's weird now because I'm like, how did I let somebody take control over my life like that at a young age? But you want to be loved. You want to have somebody that you think loved you, and you just want to be wanted and I just wanted to fit in, with everybody. He was a popular guy, and I'm like, okay, I got me a popular guy, so maybe it'll work out. But in the long run, it really didn't.
And I'm sure you found yourself justifying behaviors for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he was just mad at something else. I would always make excuses to why he did what he did, and I would justify that, but it wasn't. As I got older, I realized, okay, that's not normal.
Right.
That's not normal. And a lot of young ladies nowadays think that's the norm. So that was my prompt to move forward to helping other victims, that have fallen to domestic violence.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something that's interesting. You said that you wanted to feel loved. I don't want to assume, but what was your home life like with your parents?
Well, I had a two-parent. I come from a two-parent home. I know the stats say a lot of times when you're in a abusive relationship, a lot of young ladies or guys for that matter come from single-parent homes. But I had a two-parent home. My parents were really, really strict. I couldn't go here, couldn't go there, couldn't spend a night at my girlfriend's house, none of that. So, it was just school and home, school and home. Went to the prom, I had a curfew till I was 18 years old. I had to be in the house by 12. Don't let the corner light catch you.
Oh,
So,
I know about that.
oh, yeah. So,
Don't
yeah.
let the street light catch you. That is
Yes.
absolutely right. Yes, yes,
My parents was really, really strict. Really
right.
strict.
So
And
he
I
was
didn't
your
have
escape. He
yes,
was somewhat of your escape. I gotcha.
yes. I didn't have a lot of friends either, so that was my go-to person to wait. If I do this, do that, I can get out. So
So they let you go out with them. They were fine with him.
they really didn't care for him, but I went out a few times. But like I said, I always had that curfew.
Mm-hmm.
11:30, 12 o'clock. I need to be coming in the door because they wasn't having it. So yeah.
So let's fast forward a little bit. Take us to the first time that he became violent with you.
First time, it was right before we got married because we married right out of high school. So it was right before that. I say a few months, after before graduation. Um, he actually put his hands on me, and I was like, I don't think this, But once you in a situation like that, the person always go, well, I was mad at this, I was mad at that. I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. I'm sorry. Oh, please forgive me. And I kept falling for that cycle over and
Right.
over and over. But that first time, I was like in shock. I
Did you
couldn't
tell
believe
anybody? Did you
no,
tell anybody?
no.
Nobody.
I didn't tell anybody because I felt like when nobody would believe me anyway. Like I say, he was a real popular guy in the neighborhood, in school, and all that. I'm
Right.
like, they're not gonna believe anything that I say, and I was scared to tell my parents, so I just kind of kept it all to myself.
Now, when he would abuse you, because you said it would just go happen over and over and over, what would he
Mhm.
slap you, kick you? I mean, what was he doing?
All of it. Kicked
Really?
me. One time it was so bad. He drugged me down the sidewalk. I mean, was kicking me in my stomach just over and over, just pounding on me. And I couldn't get away. And then when he finally let up, I just ran. I just ran. But
So
then
you had,
a
right.
couple of weeks ago, weeks after that, I went back right back to it.
Oh. Now, Carla, talk to us about that. I mean, you were a survivor as well. Talk to us and give us some understanding about that part.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, for you, you were how old at that time? What, 18?
18.
18 years old. In your mind at 18 years old, you probably thought that you truly, truly love this person. You have all this emotion, this like lust, this just, grand idea of who they are. And
Right.
I think at that age, you're just, the understanding of what that actually is, it's just not there. So you tend to believe them. You tend to think that this person can change. They're going to grow out of it. They're going to be better. And they don't. That's just who they are at their core. And at 18 years old, it's a miracle if girls at that age can really see it for what it really is. And I was lucky. I was much older, but I cannot imagine having to deal with that at 18 years old. And I want to ask, when that happened to you, I mean, did anyone ask where your bruises were coming from, where your marks were coming from, why you were in pain?
Well, the thing is, he was really smart. He never hit me in the face.
Yeah, they like that. They think they're.
He always hit me somewhere, where it wouldn't be seen. On the back, on the legs, stomach, breast. I mean, all of that's covered up most of the time.
Right.
So he never hit me in the face where anybody could see, oh, well, she got a black eye. How did she get that? But it was never the case. It was never the case. It was always somewhere where it couldn't be seen.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask the obvious question. Were you having sex with him?
Yes. Yes, he was my first love.
Wow.
Yep.
Were you having rough sex with him?
No rough sex, just normal.
But how did you feel when you were having sex with him? I mean, like, did you feel that this was love? What were you feeling at this point?
I felt like if I didn't, it would only make him mad.
Right.
So I just did it just because, so I wouldn't get beat up again pretty well much.
Well, and that is also sexual abuse, and that's what we forget, because sexual abuse, it goes hand in hand.
Right.
Wow. Were you afraid that you would eventually get pregnant by him? Were you afraid that, what if I get pregnant by this guy? Now I'm going to be hitched to him for life. Did that ever cross your mind?
Yes, it did. It crossed my mind many times. But, thank God that never happened. So that was a good thing. That was a good thing.
Well, did he beat you bad enough to where you felt like, I'm going to die? This is going to be it. Did you ever have one of those types of moments?
Yes, that came later down the line, like after we were married and living together. We had these occasions where I call rape sessions. It's where he would just pretty well much just take whatever he wanted, held me down, and just did whatever he wanted to do. And if I tried to fight him off, that made it worse. If I tried to tell him no, I didn't feel like it, that made it worse.
So when you say rape sessions, because that is, rape is something that I'm just devastated by. You mean they were forceful is what made it rape, or he was doing things you didn't like?
It was forced.
It was forceful.
It was forced. And at each instance, I would go and try to, take a shower or bath, and I was just scrub, like I'm just trying to get it all, just crying and just scrubbing. So it was really horrible. And we even went through some times where I would cook dinner and he would get mad at that. It wasn't what he wanted. So he would just throw everything, across the room, and now you go pick it up, you clean it up. So there I go again in the corner crying and dodging and trying to clean everything up. And then right after that, it then came the little sessions, rape sessions is what I call them.
Control, entitlement, that
Right.
complex.
Right.
Wow.
So
I can only imagine. Did you have a relationship? Now, you had a relationship with your parents.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Did they try to isolate you? Because it's true, Carla, that a lot of times these abusers will try to isolate you from the family. Did he ever try to do that, Phyllis?
At the time it was just me and my older brother, so it's just that he didn't want me to have any friends, didn't want me to hang out with any because we lived in the same neighborhood, didn't want me to hang out with any of the people in the neighborhood. If I did, oh, I was doing something I didn't have no business, let him tell
Right.
it. But you know, didn't want me to tell everything. If I said anything, whenever he saw me again, it was gonna be, worse than what it was. And so it was just a mess. I just had a big mess.
Now, how long were you with him?
The 4 years of high school, and then about a year after, was married about a year. And out of that year, we was only together 6 months because I got out after that. So yeah.
What made you finally decide to try to make your run for it?
I had a conversation with my grandmother, and my grandmother was old school, and she was like, "Baby, you can do better than what you're doing. You don't deserve nothing that you're doing." And she sat me down and gave me a heart to heart talk. And after that, I was like, you know what? She's right. I don't have to deal with this.
Right.
I don't. I'm here because I want to be, but I don't like it. So I need to do something to make it change. To do a change, make a change. So I left. I called my mom and told her that I was coming home, and she was like, "Okay, just grab your stuff and come." But I didn't get anything but my purse and keys, and that was it. So I left, and I never turned back.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that, when it's time to go, you may have to just leave with nothing but the shirt on your back. And you literally did that.
Yep, I sure did.
Did he come after you?
No. Well, when I first left, he did. He did. He would like show up at my job, wait for me outside, wait till I get off. Oh, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. And I'm here trying to get in the car, trying to get away. So he did that a few times, and my father ended up having to step in after I finally told my dad what was going on and how he was harassing me at my job and stuff. So finally at that point it subsided.
Did you ever file any police reports?
No, I was afraid to.
Yeah.
Because I was still in that mindset that nobody would believe me.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna interject here because both of you have survived domestic violence. And I think this is a very big problem right here because people watching this broadcast are also afraid. How do we get past that? And how did you, because you didn't call the police, and you did eventually, Carla.
I did, yeah. When it really started getting physical, I did call the police. But I called. It still, I still had multiple reports before anything was ever done. So I understand. I understand. It's a lot of times you call and they don't do anything at all. But I have said this over and over again. Every single report counts. I don't care if they may not do anything that day. Eventually they will. And if anything ever happens and you have to defend yourself, it is on record that you have called the police so many times that you're afraid for your life. And so I cannot stress it enough to call, even if you have to make a report the next day when you get to work. I've done that. Do it, because it could eventually be your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at his hands, but in the hands of the justice system. And that's just as scary.
Right.
So your reasons for not calling is because you were just afraid. Well, those of you that are watching this broadcast are probably having those same issues.
Yeah.
They're afraid. They think that he's going to get out because Carla and Phyllis, we've seen so many times and so many occasions where these guys get out and then they come back.
Right.
I was just watching a news report the other day where a young lady begged the judge not to release him. And they released him. And so she was afraid to go home. She didn't go home. She went to a hotel and he found her and killed her.
Oh, wow.
6 children.
Oh my goodness. Mm.
So that's why we do these shows, Phyllis and Carla, is because we want people that after hearing your stories, they will be able to have enough, courage to get out, and the system doesn't make it any easier, Carla, because you have to fight the system just as much as you have to fight these men sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you kill them and you don't have record, like what you said, Carla, you need to call no matter what, then you may be putting yourself at risk of going to prison.
Right.
Because there's a case, I think you're following a friend who that happened to, right, Carla?
Yeah, Nikki Adamondo in New York State, and it's devastating.
Wow.
But it happens so often, and when you do call the police, and even now, they'll show up and they'll say, "What did you do to make him mad?" But it's a joke. It's a joke. And
Yep.
not properly trained. It's, I think domestic violence is one of those issues that it is a man versus a woman, and that's like the oldest age issue ever. And it's just, if you're a woman, you're not taken as seriously. One of the last times that I ever called the police, they did nothing. I had 2 children, 7 police reports, estranged for 1.5 years, and and they didn't make him leave. He didn't live there. Had an out-of-state driver's license. They still didn't make him leave. And a week later, he kicked my door in, held me hostage, and beat me for 9 hours. So,
wow.
And that's when they finally took it seriously. And nobody should ever have to get to that point. And Phyllis, I hear women talk all the time that they are afraid to call the police because of their abuser's reaction. If I've learned anything, they're going to beat you either way. So you have a better fighting chance if you do call the police. And even if you have to do it after the fact, and it is just one of those things where you hate to even think that way. But if they're going to harm you, they're going to do it regardless. They're going to do it because you ordered a pizza incorrectly. So, no matter what, I try to encourage women all the time to just call if possible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Phyllis, let me ask you a question, because I think that we have to deal with the mental, because we have scars on the outside, but what was happening to you on the inside? What were you feeling every time he beat you? I mean, what was going on inside for you?
I would always question myself, why me? What did I do I would blame myself for his actions. And, I couldn't understand at the time what it was that I felt like I was doing wrong to cause him to react the way he was reacting.
I think that's
when it actually wasn't me anyway. It was all
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that now, because now you're helping other women.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to bring that out because there are women that are trapped right there in that moment. They're feeling like, well, you know what, maybe if I didn't do this, he wouldn't yell at me. I am crazy. And before you know it, Carla, they're calling themselves crazy because they're justifying his behavior. So we have to stop that. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but we have to find a way to get ourselves back. How did you get yourself back, Phyllis? How did you?
I wanted more. I felt like I was worth a whole lot more. What I did was came up with an exit plan and figured out what steps I was going to take to get out, and then I executed that plan.
What was your plan?
It's to get away as fast as I could. I had to figure out what time it was I was going to leave.
Okay.
Wait till I know he would be gone for a while. That was my number one thing. Okay. What day I was going to do it, what time it was, wait till he leave, and then execute the plan, and just go and never look back. Never look back.
That's
Where did you
incredible.
run to? To your
I went
mom's?
I went
Went
home to my
home?
mom, and then I after that I actually sat down and told her. I opened up to her about everything that was going on, and she was like in awe. She couldn't believe it,
Sure.
and she was like, "Well, why come you didn't come to me sooner?" And my response was, I felt like nobody would believe me anyway, so I just didn't do anything.
And there's so many women out here just like you ladies where you just felt trapped, and I just pray that God will allow these shows after a full week of meeting different women that you guys will find a way. I know it's a lot easier said than done. I'm definitely not minimizing that at all, but we just need to make sure that you get out before it's too late, because
Right.
one of the things that made me interested in the domestic violence community is when it hit home for me, because I have a cousin who I saw just this Thanksgiving. I went home to Alabama for Thanksgiving and we were kicking it, hee hee ha ha. You just assume I'll see you next time I come home, or
Hmm.
just loving on her. And Monday I found out that she was on life support, and I'm like, how? And it was because she had an ex-boyfriend. She wasn't with him anymore, but she felt like she could still be his friend. So
Hmm.
she befriended him. And I don't know what happened that led him to take a belt, put it around her neck, and held her for moments and then dropped her. And her brain was bleeding. I mean, it was horrific. But, I vowed that, what, we have to find a way to reach people so it doesn't get that far. Get
Hmm.
out before it's too late. Because both of you ladies survived it.
Hmm.
You both survived it. And there are so many families that, probably would be sitting here that would wish, because I know I interviewed, a couple of people on this show who their daughters didn't make it
Hmm.
because they were killed, and they were both young women. And
Right.
it's, and you both started with these guys young.
Right.
And we have to figure out what is it, Carla, that when you're younger, like Phyllis, what is it that makes us, cling more to that than we would a parent if we need to feel love?
Um, for me, I was 30. I was 30. So I was older, but I was in a weird time of my life. And I think when you're young and then I just happened to be in like an odd professional period of my life. And I think you're vulnerable. No matter what has made you vulnerable, whether it's, you're trying to figure out who you are in your early 20s and you're just dating around and you're not really sure of what the signs are. And, you have girlfriends who also have this like super fast, romantic, lust induced relationship. And then theirs kind of drops off and they come back down to earth again. And then for abusers, so they don't release you. They keep you on that high, and then the crash is their violence. And when you're young, I think it's just, I mean, the rush of that and the adrenaline, trying to figure out what in the hell is going on, I think has a lot to do with it. And I think for me, I mean, I was just I was vulnerable for different reasons, but I think vulnerability is a huge, huge factor.
Hmm.
And they prey.
Wow.
These men prey on that.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
They like needy people. In
Yes,
other words, yeah, I'm going to meet the need that your parents aren't meeting for you right now.
Hmm.
something. Yes.
Wow. And I think too, is it possible? I don't know, Phyllis, tell me, when you were younger, did it at some point before he started beating you, at some point when he would act kind of jealous, did it feel like love? Did you feel like, oh, that's so cute, he's so protective of me?
Hmm.
Did
Yes,
it
I
feel
did.
like that?
Hmm.
Well, the reason I asked that question is because I don't want young women to get it twisted. Don't
Right.
think that's
Right.
love.
Right.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
that's not
Exactly.
love.
No.
And do people stay for the sex? I know that's an awkward question, but I'm thinking it.
I don't know. Some people may. I mean, I don't see how, but
Yeah, I was going to say, I hated every second he ever touched me, and I had 2 kids with the guy. So, I mean, and I hated every second of it. But,
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, some women may, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Because there's plenty where that came from. I'm just putting it out there. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's right, Carl. I mean, he's not the only one with it. I can vouch for that. Okay. I'm just saying.
It's like, yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm just trying to say that I really want women to finally peel the onion away from this situation. And so when you get to the center of it, it's just control. It's not love.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is
control. So you moved on and you went back to mom, Phyllis. Thank God that you're here to share your story. And then what? What is it that put you here now helping other people?
I end up getting married at around 24ish. I end up getting married to my current husband, and we adopted 2 girls. And once I wrote my book, I thought I wasn't sure if I was going to write it at first, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put all this on paper. If I can put it on paper, then I can put it into a book. So once I finished my book, I felt like I could finally breathe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I got it all out. I'm like, okay, I can breathe now. So after that, I would say, okay, my next thing that I want to do is to help other women and also help children who've been bullied, because I was bullied as a kid too. So that's how I came up with the organization Infinity United.
You were bullied?
Yes, I was bullied.
Wow, that's a whole...
Yes, that's another whole...
I didn't know.
Yes.
It sounds like it. I mean, as the bullying was so common. I thought it was, I pardon my ignorance, but I really thought that it was just something that because I never experienced it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize that it was so serious. So you wrote the book because the book was your healing. That was how you heal. That's when I started writing. That was definitely why, because it was either right or I'm going to die. It was just that. So I hear you on the book. Again, what's the title of your book, Phyllis?
Oh, I'm sorry. Looking Inside Myself and Surviving. And you can get it on Amazon.com, Walmart.com, Target.com, and Barnes and Nobles. So
nice.
Hopefully this year.
So Carla, tell me, when you had to leave.
You cut out there.
I'm sorry, say that again, dear. Hopefully this year.
It'll be in stores. I'm going to try to get the book in stores instead of just online.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm working on that.
That's incredible.
Well, I definitely want to get a copy of it. So just make sure that I have the information, because I want to buy everybody's book. I probably know the story because you show, but we'll definitely support, because I think that that's important. The more people buying it, the more the book gets out there. So I want to encourage people that, if you're watching the broadcast, please go to Target.com, BarnesandNobles.com, and look for the book so that we can encourage her to keep going. Well, I am very proud of you that you got out, and you're helping people right now. If you watch this and you need to make a change because you're with this man, and I think that what happens to Carla and Phyllis, do we sometimes stay because they provide, they're paying all the... Is that possible too sometimes?
Yes.
For a lot of women it is. That definitely was not my case, but I know for a lot of women it is, because they the abusers prey on that financial abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. It's all about gaining control over every part of your life. And so a lot of women do stay because their abusers have taken all of their money. They're now, they've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years, and they, can't financially go anywhere. They can't financially leave. And you see a lot of times where shelters, they don't meet the requirements to get into a shelter, and they have nowhere to go. And they've been so isolated that they can't call family. They can't reach out to friends because they don't have them, and they don't meet requirements for shelters. And so that is, I think, a huge issue. A lot of abusers, abuse financially.
So tell us about your organization, Phyllis. Tell us because what we want to do with this week is we want to make sure that the women watching this broadcast that need the help get it. So what does your organization offer for women that may or may not be going through this type of situation?
We offer educational support, motivation, inspiration. My ultimate goal is to open up a safe haven place to where people can go in emergency situations. Because a lot of times, we have different, like family abuse center, different centers, and a lot of times, especially for minorities and women of color, they feel like that they can't really go to those organizations for whatever reason. So my deal is I want to open up a facility where it's open to anybody who needs to get out in an emergency crisis situation.
So right now, what do people do? Because I want to help them get a plan. We want to help our viewers establish a plan. Right now, what is the first thing they need to do? If you're in a situation like this, what's the first thing they should do?
They need to figure, if they're still in it, they need to figure out an exit plan.
Okay.
When, where.
Now let's go back to that part because I want to break this down for real.
Okay.
Okay, you say exit plan. Doesn't there have to be a level of trust? They have to decide while getting this plan, who do I use to do it? Because they have to go somewhere, especially if there are kids involved.
Right.
So they have to figure out, okay, who can I trust, and how do they decide that? Because if you're with this man, he knows all your family, he knows your friends, right?
Right.
So
it can be somebody that you can find in, maybe like a teacher or a counselor or a pastor, somebody that's not like in your family circle.
Okay.
That this individual pretty well much won't have contact with or really don't know about. So I would say, the counselors, the teachers, even if any community leaders, pastors, that would be somebody that you can really confide in, and that that's going to be truthful and it's going to be able to help you move forward with your plan.
And I'd like to suggest.
Okay, that's number one. Establish a plan. Okay.
You can also reach out to even if your domestic violence centers are full. Most of them do have victims advocates on site, legal advocates. That even if the shelter does not have space, they can still provide legal services. So always reach out to shelters as well. And even if, I'm in South Carolina, so like I know locally that we have a few, in the whole state that you can reach out to, finding legal aid is probably one of the biggest difficulties for women trying to leave. And one goal for us trying to bring so much awareness to domestic violence is trying to find other routes for women to take legally. and having legal aid. So if your local domestic violence shelter cannot provide that, call whatever state you're in, call the local or call the statewide domestic violence number, because they can find somewhere within your state that can provide either victims advocacy, legal aid, something. So, along with someone in your community or a family member or whoever. But
Okay, so that's the first step. What's the next thing? What's the second thing, Phyllis? After they've established a plan, they've executed plan, now what?
Once they establish a plan, they got to figure out a time, a date and a time when they want to put that plan into place. Because a lot of times, if that person is around all the time, you're not going to be able to move when you need to move. So you kind of got to watch this person's pattern and know when they're not going to be in the vicinity, and then you can move forward with that part.
Well, I'm gonna take a clue from the movie Enough with J Lo. Remember how she had a bag packed and she had. I mean, I know that's Hollywood, but we can learn some things from that, because she actually had a little bag, different keys in different places, and she had already talked to someone. So I think that we can, because we have to be strategic, because I want people at the end of this week to have a solid plan to get out, not just tell them to get out, but show them how they can get out. Right. So now they're out, and then, the guy is looking for her or him, they're looking for them. How do you keep yourself, if you're working? Now, God forbid you have a job.
Right.
You have a job. He knows you go to that job. You can't just stop working. So then what?
You can either probably take some vacation time, or at least till you get, if you have that established, you can kind of take time off from your job, or even if maybe you can go to an administrator and kind of let them know, hey, I got this going on, so maybe they can help
me. I wouldn't trust anybody.
No.
See, my thing, I'm gonna be honest with you, I wouldn't trust anybody along the way. You just don't know who he can pay off.
Right.
Yeah.
I would highly suggest trying to get a temporary protection order put in place. You can go. All domestic violence shelters have a legal advocate there who can write a protection order, notarize it, and then you take it to a judge and have them sign off on it. Again, it is just a simple piece of paper, but if they violate that order, that typically in almost every single state, that is an automatic aggravated felony stalking conviction or charge. And again, it's just a piece of paper, but it gives victims a peace of mind that if they're going to come after you, they're going to come after you either way, but at least you have something legal in your hand stating that they're not allowed to. And it's going to take a little more balls to get that gusto to come after you at your job or somewhere where any witnesses would be anyway. And I would rather take my chances with a protection order in hand. And I certainly did. And then you put one everywhere. I had one in my car. I had one at work, at my children's school, at my mama's house, at my sister's house. You have them all over the place. So definitely for women who have just left, I don't care if you've never filed a police report before, you go and you do whatever you can to get a protection order. And if you can't do it on your own, call me. I will help you. I will walk you through it. Anybody can get one. You don't have to have 5 years worth of black eyes to get it. So definitely that is something that, because you're right, Phyllis. I mean, a lot of women don't have the luxury to have PTO and vacation time that they can really just kind of disappear. So, protection orders are definitely something that I encourage all women to get.
Very good. Well, Phyllis, if you had to look into your camera and tell the women that are watching this broadcast tonight what to do as far as, okay, if you're in this situation, please know, and then finish the sentence, what would you say to them?
If you're in this situation, please know that you are worth so much more. You deserve better. There is better. Seek help. Don't wait around, like I did, or like maybe you have been. Figure out your plan. Put your plan into play. Execute it and move. Make a move for it and never look back.
Never look back. What would you tell them, Carla?
Trust your gut. Try to find someone in your family who you can trust, who you can lean on. I was lucky. I had, my parents, my sisters. You know, confide in someone. Confide in someone, and try to document as much as you possibly can. I think I said it last time I was on your show, Ella, to, if you have to create a fake or a secret email account, we're in 2021, we can do that. We can have as many email accounts as we want to. So that is the advantage of it being, the technology being so outrageous today. So also, I would love to say, if you are suffering from domestic violence, we do have a group. We have a support group on Sunday nights, and if you're interested in that, please contact me. We don't give out the information just because of privacy.
Right.
But if you are a victim and you are wanting to find support, let me know. And we have one group currently, and we're about to start one or two more, so with different dates and times. So if you are interested in that, please let me know, and I can get that information for you all.
Okay.
It's funny, as you guys are talking, I'm sitting here thinking about the Underground Railroad. Now, why am I thinking about the Underground Railroad? Because they found a way to free slaves. And all I can think about is using that same mindset to free abused women. Get a system underground, if you will, where people can get, if they can get to this place, they're safe. And no slave movies, and a lot of these slave movies, you see how they always have somebody from one post to the next post to the next post that eventually gets them to stay and gets them for abused women. That if we could create something with all of these advocates, like maybe come together and get an Underground Railroad kind of situation, so that I become afraid for women sometimes too, who are in this situation, because you don't know who you can trust. Even with these agencies, they're still human. And I just pray that if you are watching this broadcast and you're one of the people that are suffering from domestic violence, that you will, first of all, pick up the phone and dial the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. That number is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. We're going to give that number out all week, because if you don't remember anything, please remember that number, because that's a start, because they're going to go in the right direction for your state, like Carla said. Do you guys want to say anything else to everybody before we get out of here? Nothing. Well, listen, guys. Go ahead.
Sorry, my internet's been weird. For women, if you are suffering, even if I don't know you, but I think about you every night. I pray for you every night, and just know that there is help. There is a life after. please, anyone who's listening and suffering, reach out to me. Ella can give you my information, and I can guide you to whatever state you're in. I can help you figure out the resources for that state. Phyllis, I know you probably feel the same way. And there is a life after, and there is safety afterwards. Even if you don't think so now, you can have that. You can live a normal life, and I hope that for everyone.
Yeah.
Me too, guys. Well, I want to thank both of you for joining us tonight. And Phyllis, thank you so much for coming and telling your story. I know that we weren't prepared for that tonight, but you did an excellent job. I'm very proud of you that you are taking your pain and turning it into purpose. Because, I don't believe that God makes mistakes. And I know it's like, well, Ella, what do you mean God doesn't make mistakes? Well, he doesn't. And he allows things to happen to get us to a certain place. And look at you now. You survived it, and now you're able to save lives, both of you ladies. And I'm sure that when you were going through it, you probably were like, this is hell.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yes.
It was. But you're doing positive things, and I'm very excited that you were able to come on the broadcast, Phyllis, and be transparent about what you went through. I know it's not easy to talk about it, and you too, Carla, because you were telling me before the broadcast, you were like, oh, Ella, I gave you the watered down message, girl, on your show. If that was water, I would definitely hate this. What? Because your story, along the way during the week, Carla, we're going to share bits and pieces of your story because you are my co-host, and you're doing a beautiful job with your domestic violence situation. I mean, I'm extremely proud of you and all the work that you're doing. And you're going to have a podcast coming soon.
Yes, March is See, I keep saying mid-March, but it's just 3 kids, and so we'll get there. We will. I hope by the end of March. So
I know you will, because I'll keep pushing you. Yes. And I love the name of it. I love the title of your podcast, The Sparrow Project. Yes. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I love that because his eye is on the sparrow. So if he's watching over the sparrow, hello, somebody. You know he's watching over you. Yeah. And guys, listen, I know sometimes we feel, a little despondent about, well, you know what? I don't want to pray. I don't feel like praying. Well, just moan. All right. I grew up old school in the country, and they told us, baby, there's going to come a time, honey. You're not going to know what to pray for, but just moan. And God will intercede. And I am a living witness that you will have those moments. But just like I said on my flyer there, you could choose courage or you could choose comfort, but you can't choose both. So if you want to make a difference in your life, no matter what it is, whether it's leaving a domestic violence situation, start that business, or whatever the case may be, don't get so bogged down just because you may have to be a little uncomfortable to get there. Because it takes being uncomfortable to have courage. And it always takes courage to make a change. Yeah. And that's what this show is all about. We want to make a change, that someone will watch this broadcast and choose to make a difference. And I think that what you're doing, Phyllis, what you're doing, Carla, you're not only changing minds, but you're changing lives with what you're doing. And I want to encourage you to keep doing it.
Doing this.
Well, thank you, sugar.
Girl, you got it. You're making it happen.
Girl, give me a mic any day. I don't care where I am. I got these lights on me in here tonight.
I have a conference coming up March the 13th. And it's called Unmasking and Welcome to Beauty. And it's an empowerment conference.
Nice.
So if you're in the Waco area, come on out. The tickets are $25. I got 3 dynamic speakers and free food gifts. It's going to be awesome. So just reach out to me on Facebook or
so you should have started with the free food part.
So
you should have started with the free food. You should have said, hey, I got free food.
Free food, everybody will show up. But yeah.
Well, listen, I'll think about it. I will definitely, but I definitely want to get more information from you.
Okay.
Because I know if I come, I might need to buy some way packing. Because they have some crazies over there. I might have to take. Now, I can't believe I'm saying that on this show. Now, when I go to the airport, it just so happened, right? Carla, come and get me out, honey. If that happens, just
So, I'm on
come
my
and
way.
get your sister out.
I will come.
But I know it, right? I know you would. I know you would. But listen, guys, I'm proud of you, Phyllis. That's awesome to have your
Thank you.
speakers, and I really speak over your event that you'll have a
Thank
lot
you.
of people coming out and paying to come out, and it'll be a success. And I may, well, it's too short of a notice, so I may not be able to make it, but I'll definitely donate for the Ella Johnson show to support whatever you need to do. Okay,
Appreciate it. Appreciate
guys,
it.
we're here. I want everyone to know thank you all so much for tuning into the broadcast tonight. All week we will have domestic violence true stories. Now, the story coming up tomorrow, y'all listen, will blow your mind. I am being so serious right now because my mind is still gone. I've been reading her story, but she's coming up tomorrow, Lurleen, and she's going to share her story, domestic violence, and you will not believe what she had to do. But I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show. We'll be right here again tomorrow night. And remember, share the broadcast, this one, not the other one. The other one was, it was all messed up because we had technical difficulties. So share this broadcast, and we'll be right here tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Just for this week, we have a very special time for the shows. It's 7 p.m. Eastern. Starting next week, I'll go back to 8 p.m. Eastern, but for this week only, 7 p.m. And I'll have my beautiful Carla Bristow, who will join me again and again and again for the rest of the week as my co-host. She did a wonderful job. Listen, you didn't have to throw anything at me, right?
Yeah, no, well, we do so well anyway. So
I know we do. We're just so
we're
cool.
both nosy. We're both nosy, so that helps.
Girl, now you said something there. Well, you have to be in this line of work. You gotta ask the tough questions too.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys, we're gonna get out of here so you guys can have a great evening, and we'll see you next time right here on the Ella Johnson Show tomorrow night, 7 p.m. YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Share the broadcast. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh.